Hey, did you know that there was a terrorist attack in Chicago recently? If you watch the legacy media or the broadcast news, you probably didn't hear anything about it. But we're going to talk about it today and discuss the ramifications of the possibility that these sanctuary cities and states could well be harboring others who would do us harm through terroristic attacks. On October 26, 2024, in Chicago's West Rogers Park, a heavily Jewish neighborhood, a 39-year-old Jewish man was shot while walking to his synagogue. Authorities identified the assailant as Sidi Mohammed Abdalali, a 22-year-old Mauritanian national who had entered the United States illegally in March of 2023. Witnesses reported that the attacker shouted Allahu Akbar during the incident. Abda Ali was apprehended after a gunfight with police officers who responded to the scene following reports of gunfire. Thankfully, no further lives were lost, but the attack left the victim injured and the community shaken. Now, not only did Abda Ali shoot the victim, when confronted by two police officers, he fired on them and he was injured in the melee. Initially charged with attempted murder, Abda Ali now faces additional charges of terrorism and hate crimes. Prosecutors believe this was a targeted act of anti-Semitic violence, adding to the growing number of hate crimes against Jewish people across the country. Recent reports indicate anti-Semitic hate crimes surged in 2024 following global tension and the October 7th attack in Israel. But Biden's DOJ is not investigating anything at all about the shooting attack. Why not? Well, of course, this would be embarrassing to the Biden administration because of its open border policy. The attack also raises concerns about Chicago's status as a sanctuary city. Some community leaders argue that the policies protecting undocumented immigrants may inadvertently increase risk for certain groups. But Chicago's mayor, Brandon Johnson, who was roundly criticized by a couple of Chicago citizens at a recent city council meeting over his sanctuary city policies and his stance to protect illegal aliens from deportation, has dug in. Watch.
Now, to align yourself with somebody who's obviously a one-term mayor, if he even makes it that far, you better be worrying about your job. You better be worrying about your longevity, because we're going to vote and we're going to get you out because you ain't doing right by us. That's what time it is.
Chicagoans furious and sounding off on Mayor Johnson's plan to tack on another $70 million to migrant funding. Frustration building to the point that some voters are now working to get him out of office, as you heard that constituent there saying. Garrett Tenney live in Chicago with the story. Hi, Garrett.
Yeah, Dana, good morning to you. This migrant issue has become an Achilles heel for Mayor Brandon Johnson, so much so that there are now multiple efforts underway to vote out Democrats and the mayor. We saw that yesterday at the city council meeting, where several groups of black voters showed up wearing red shirts with the words "No More Blue, Go Red, and Turn Chicago Red." Many of these folks are lifelong Democrats who are now actively working to shake up deep blue Chicago, specifically because of how the mayor and the governor have handled the migrant crisis, doling out more than $1 billion so far for that. And here they are warning the mayor and city council about transferring another $70 million from the city's rainy day fund to take care of the migrants.
We need that money in my neighborhood. We need that on my block. So I'm asking y'all to use our tax money for our people. We need it.
You vote for the money for these immigrants today, and we coming for them seats. You can believe that.
The police are fighting with them in the shelters that you guys are funding. You guys think it's a great idea, but yet your police officers are getting attacked. Your public's getting attacked.
Currently, state law does not allow voters to recall Chicago's mayor, but after seeing how Mayor Johnson's first year has gone with the migrants and crime, a new group wants to change that by getting a referendum on the ballot this November that would pave the way to voting Johnson out.
we're not taking care of Chicago citizens first, and that's what it's all about. The fact of the matter is that we've never had this opportunity to recall before, and it's very apparent based on the mayor's abilities right now, or lack of accountability, that this needs to be addressed.
Yeah, Mayor Johnson is dismissing this recall effort as a right-wing effort from folks living out in the suburbs. But Dan laughed at that, saying he's lived in Chicago for 33 years. He is an independent. And in the 24 hours since news came out about this effort, he said there's been an outpouring support from folks of all backgrounds looking to sign on. Dana?
Garrett Tenney, thank you.
But now that it's come home to Chicago, how long will it be until other cities suffer a terrorist attack? This incident raises the question as to how many other potential terrorists have poured across the southern border during the Biden administration. Look at this clip from Fox News, and please share your thoughts in the comments.
So I'm joined here today by Mayor Brandon Johnson, Deputy Mayor of Community Safety Gary Gatewood, Cook County State's Attorney Kim Fox, Alderwoman Deborah Silverstein, Chief of Detectives Antoinette Arcidi, Chief of Patrol John Hine, Director of Community Policing Glenn Brooks, and members of the Bureau of Detectives and the Investigative Response Team. So today I'm here to talk about a shooting that occurred in the Rogers Park neighborhood this past weekend. During that shooting, a 39-year-old man of Jewish faith was injured in a shooting. Also, multiple officers and paramedics were fired upon at the scene in separate incidents. Just want to make that clear. Earlier this week, we announced charges against 22-year-old Sidi Mohammed Abdelhadi. Today, he was additionally charged with one felony count of terrorism and one felony count of a hate crime. This offender remains hospitalized because of his injuries from the shooting that occurred on that date. The most important thing I want to come out of this press conference is we want everybody to know that we will never tolerate violence that's rooted in hate and bigotry. This shooting is deeply personal to members of our Jewish community. We know that. But this shooting should be personal to everyone across the city. We have a diverse city. We live in a very diverse city. And anytime someone suffers violence, especially a shooting, we should be outraged no matter where it occurs in our neighborhoods and across our city. Since the shooting occurred, our investigators worked their fingers to the bone to determine a motive. There must be sufficient evidence to support hate crimes and terrorism charges. And it was important we took our time to thoroughly investigate and confirm that this was indeed a crime of that nature. So I want to be clear about one thing, and I want to make this clear to everybody in every community. We did not secure these charges because of public pressure or because of media attention. As the head of a police department, and the responsibility that we have in law enforcement is that we will never go out in public, make statements, allegations, accusations, or attempt to bring charges without any proof of what we're attempting to charge someone for. Now, gathering evidence and facts takes time, and we have to do it in a timely fashion so that we don't impede the possibility of getting charges. We will never do things just based on a belief. We need proof. That's what we do as a police department, and I can tell you right now, our investigative response team did an excellent job of doing that. This investigation included a strong partnership between our federal partners and our prosecutorial partners at the Cook County State's Attorney's Office. with detectives unable to interview the offender because of the injuries that he sustained during the shooting, detectives sifted through digital evidence to establish this case. Evidence from the offender's phone indicated he planned the shooting and specifically targeted people of Jewish faith. This evidence allowed us to secure the terrorism and hate crime charges. I cannot say enough about the work our detectives and our investigatory teams did and worked with all of our partners to secure charges here and to provide a level of safety around the community. Thankfully, this victim did not suffer life-threatening injuries. We know that this is something that he's going to have to deal with the rest of his days. I can't leave this press conference without talking about our first responding officers who arrived on the scene, who were shot at, engaged in an exchange of gunfire with this individual, and stopped him from taking lives. They put their lives on the line for this community to make sure that the community was safe. The same thing that our officers do out there on a daily basis. It's extremely important to understand the effects of that. Our officers going out, making sure that these communities are safe all over this city. So I can't leave here without talking about how well those first arriving officers responded on the scene. This trauma also affects our Jewish community. We know that. In Rogers Park, the community had concerns. And again, we understood what those concerns were as a police department. But again, we did not rush to judgment. We made sure that we continued the investigation that I told you earlier that we were working on. And those detectives did just one heck of a job getting that job done. I also have to thank Chief City for her leadership, Lieutenant Pat Kenny for the work that he does as the lead for the investigatory response team, and Glenn Brooks from Community Policing with our hate crimes unit. We've been working over in Rogers Park before and since this happened, and to our Chief John Hine, who made sure that there are additional resources around religious institutions throughout the neighborhood. We will continue to pay special attention to the location to make sure that people feel safe. But lastly, we need to understand one thing, that what terrorism is designed to do. It's designed to change your way of life. It's designed to change the way that you move about your daily business. We want there to be some calm in the neighborhood so that you understand that we're there to make sure that you're safe. We don't want to heighten. Awareness is great, but what we don't want you to do is walk around in fear. Know that we're here, and the support is here from the Chicago Police Department and the mayor's office because, and I just want to be clear about one thing, I was in constant contact with the mayor about this information. The mayor had the information that we, as a police department, provided to the mayor. And until we gained enough information to provide the mayor with charges, to let him know that charges were coming about, he only had the information that we, as the Chicago Police Department, provided to him. So we saw his support in this situation. We kept him abreast of what was going on. And I just want to thank the mayor and everyone standing here for the support.